So exporting and importing a ProPresenter document or a bundle or even just the project itself is pretty easy to do. It's pretty smart too because you can share documents that you've created. You can archive and back things up pretty easily, and it's just a good thing to know, especially when you're new to ProPresenter. So let's start off by talking about exporting. Okay, and then I'll come back to importing. So first of all, find your document that you want to export, and I'm going to select this Victorious. Now, of course, this is when you're done with the document, and now you just want to export it out, again, to archive it or to possibly share. Keep in mind that your file size can be pretty large depending on how much media and different assets you may have in a document, such as I'll use this document as my example. I have animations, I have video clips, I have a handful of slides and photos, so the file size can be pretty large, and I'll talk to you about that. In fact, I'll even show you what the file looks like after we've exported it out. So I'm going to export out this Victorious document with all these different types of media assets in the document. So if I navigate up here to my top menu, you have three options. So if you click on the word File, you'll see here you have Export Document as one with a drop-down menu, which I'll talk about in just a moment. You can export out as a playlist or a template, which I'll talk about in just a moment as well. But let's start over here. If I want to export my document out, I think as a bundle, exporting out as a bundle, I think is the smartest and best way to go. Because when I do this, when I select as a bundle, everything in the document will be included on the export. You could select export out as a ProPresenter 5 or 6 project only, where none of the media assets will be there. You could also select to export out as a plain text document, which is self-explanatory. It's basically a text document, or out as slide images, which basically are still images that represent every item in your document, even if it's a video clip or an animation. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. You can export out as a playlist, which is handy, or you can export out as a template, which I'll talk about too. In fact, let's go back quickly. Export document, and let's select bundle. Export out as a bundle. So I'll click on that. Again, this is, I think, the best way to go when you want to back a project up, archive it, or share it. Select as a bundle, and you'll notice that the extension here says Pro 6X. That X right there represents that it's a bundle. In fact, I like to type in BNDL, just so I know that it's a bundle by quickly looking at it. Now you can see I've already done it here, so I'm not going to do it, but once you're ready to go, you would hit export. It may take a moment or two, and then it sends everything out that's in your document. What about if I go back up to the word file, I select export, and I want to select ProPresenter 5 or 6? Well, that's pretty straightforward. I'll go with 6. The only thing I want to bring up about that is it's very quick and very simple. You basically select the destination, and then you hit export. Be careful though, because if you are working with ProPresenter 6 like I am, someone on ProPresenter 5 will definitely have challenges, possibly, when they go to open that document. So keep that in mind. Hit cancel. Let's go back up to the word file. The other one that I happen to like is if you export out as slide images. So if I select that, basically you have some options here. You can select JPEG, which if you do select that, the backgrounds in the slides that I'm now hovering over will be solid black. They will not be transparent. If you select PNG, then the background would be knocked out, basically. It would all be transparent. So both are good. And you could include media cues. However, remember that either one of these options here represents that or means that everything in your document will basically be a still image. You will not get the video information unless, even if you select include media cues, if you happen to have placed video files, for instance, in these slides, and then it would be included. But basically, as you'll see in a moment, it's all going to be exported out as a still image, which is pretty convenient. Okay, let's hit cancel. A few other items. If you go back up to the word file, you could export out as a playlist, which I happen to like. There are two places you can do this, by the way. So when you select that, make sure you have the playlist selected, by the way, down here when you want to export. In fact, here, I'll hit cancel because you can do the same thing down here. You can go down to your playlist window, whoops, select the playlist that you want, push the control key down, then mouse click and select export playlist. I also like print playlist too. That's kind of an export, but that's if you want to print a playlist of the items in your playlist. Anyway, so if you select export playlist down here or back at the top menu like I just did a moment ago, if you make sure you check include media with presentations and you hit save, then I won't do it because I've already done it. Everything in the playlist gets exported out. So let's go look and see what this looks like when you export. As a matter of fact, I want to start off with this guy here. When I select it out as a bundle, remember I typed in the word BNDL just so I would know that it's a bundle. But the cool thing about this is if you push Command I for information, in fact, I'll bring this over, you'll see here that the name that ProPresenter gave it in its metadata information, it actually called it a bundle here at the end. So it's easy to identify. But I brought this up because it's a 2.5 gig file. Look at that. So that would not be, or that would be tough to email to somebody. So you want to put that on a thumb drive or something like that. But basically, that's the entire document. If I import that, which I'll show you in a moment, when I go to import this, it'll import it and bring it into my ProPresenter just like it looked like before I exported it out. So great for sharing or archiving or backing up. This is what the file looks like when it's just a project, when you export it out as a ProPresenter 5 or 6 project. Notice the difference between the extensions here. You have .pro6, x.pro6. Remember that x represents that it's a bundle. This item here is when you export out as thumbnails. As a matter of fact, here, let's select this and look at it in thumbnails. When you export out as a thumbnail, let me increase the size here, then basically all the images, or not images, but all the media in your document come out as a still image, which could be okay, I guess. It's just an option, though, to do that. And as you can see, I selected JPEG so that if I go to show this later, they would have a solid black background with the text in front. So not a bad way to go. But anyway, that's one of the options that you can choose. So let's go back. Let's look at this in a list mode. The other item that I like is when you export out as a playlist. Okay, this is also very good. Notice the extension there, .pro6plx. That means everything that was in that playlist is included. So the file size there is also going to be big. Look, it's 2.61 gigs. So keep that in mind when you're exporting out. I happen to like the bundles as my default go-to for backing up, archiving, and sharing an actual document. So let's talk about that. When I want to share this and someone wants to import a bundle, let's go back into ProPresenter. Let's navigate up to the top menu, select File, Import, Import File. This is how you import a bundle, a ProPresenter bundle. So you mouse click on that. Then you navigate to the bundle, you select the bundle, and then, okay, so here we go. You'll see that the document, you can clarify or you can confirm that it is a bundle by looking at the actual file name that ProPresenter gave it along with your name, of course, and then you would select import. Now, I happen to have this already in ProPresenter, and when you select import, it would look identical to this document here sitting in ProPresenter, and either I or someone else can immediately start to work with it and start to display it as it, of course, right after it comes in. Now, if I wanted to import my playlist, it's easy. You click on that, it gets imported as a playlist, and then it exists down here. Very nice. If I wanted to import these still images, you can select the folder or select, I'm sorry, you'd have to go back to importing as still images actually. So when you want to import, and this is important, when you want to import something that was exported out as still images, look how the import button is grayed out and you can't even select any item. This means you would have to import these items separately. You would have to select File, Import Video Image instead. So you would have to treat these a little different than opening up a bundle or a project like we did here. Remember, if you select that, the import option is there for this bundle. Okay, I hope that made sense. But last but not least, if you want to import a project, there it is. You select Import. It comes in as an empty shell, basically. And then, of course, you can occupy it with other types of assets and media, things like that. All right, well, that concludes this lesson. We covered a lot of information. You're now ready to move on to your next lesson.